Hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Journey 424. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Before we started recording, you mentioned you are having some pretty intense meditations recently.
Whew, yeah.
Can you described it to me as tensing and shaking. Can you give the audience a little bit more of a feeling to that?
Yeah, as I've progressed on this journey, I in the beginning there was some shaking, but now it's a really intense vibration, and it I can feel it start in the perineum area, and I can feel it like moving up my body into my heart, and it's almost like my chest will open. I just feel like my chest is open, and then it goes up, and what I'm trying to do, because I feel like I'm trying to help and surrender to it, because it knows what it's doing. But if you try and stop it, it's just going to delay it more. So you want to relax into it, surrender to it. It knows what it's doing. But so the body will shake. I'll feel that clenching, and sometimes if I'm sitting, my legs will actually be bouncing off. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone with restless leg syndrome or something, but like both legs are bouncing like that at the same time. The body's vibrating, and then I'll get this like tenseness in my in my jaw. It's almost like I go, like really, really intense. It's almost like putting a 240 chord into a 110, and it's just, you're zinging. And that's how I was explaining it. It's like you're zinging. And then it'll stop. Like it'll be real, real intense and build, and then all of a sudden it releases, and then you're like, and then sometimes before you can even catch your breath, it starts again, and it's build, and then it releases you again. So I heard in this meditation, relax and release, relax and release, relax and release, and so that's what I was trying to do, and I was, trying to go move with it and allow it to do the necessary healing that it was trying to do.
And I think this is going to be very relevant to the people who are watching because I think we originally started this talking and calling it the Kundalini Awakening, but in a lot of ways, I think we can synonymously use Kundalini Awakening, spiritual awakening, energetic awakening. I don't know if it's necessary to just label it anymore because it has multiple connotations that we can refer to it as.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. So I had never heard of Kundalini Awakening. So I'm sure some people have never heard of it. They may have heard of spiritual awakening. They may have heard of the Great Awakening, but Kundalini was just a word that I had never heard of before. So obviously, I'll use that. We can still use that word, but if you hear us talking about Kundalini, spiritual awakening, it's all the same thing, or energetic trauma release. We're talking about the same thing.
So speaking of, and I really like that phrasing, energetic trauma release. So you mentioned that it's important that on a daily basis, it seems to be, you have an energetic trauma release. And if you don't, it's harder to manage. So if you could do it consistently, and I'll ask you to elaborate that a little bit, but if you're able to allow yourself a certain period of time to do that daily, it doesn't seem to take over uncontrollably. Is that correct?
That's correct. I early on, when I figured out what Kundalini was, and I was watching, people that were talking about it. They were talking about allowing yourself time and space, a safe place to allow the Kundalini to do what the necessary healing, because obviously, if you're lucky enough to have this happen to you, um, I say it's lucky because not everybody is open to this kind of thing, but so you want to have a safe container every day. So I usually will get up at 5, and from 5 to 6, I allow the Kundalini to do the Shakti. They call it Kundalini Shakti, but I'll allow it to do what's necessary. And it seems like each day it's different. Last week we were talking about signs that something was coming, and it was seeing the angel numbers and seeing lots of coincidences and things that you would most people would just say, oh, that's a coincidence, I just happened to look at the clock at that time, or I just happened to wake up at that time. But what we don't realize is that it's not a coincidence. It was specifically designed for you to have that happen at that specific time. But closed-minded people won't get that. But anyway, so I allow myself an hour every single day to release that built-up energy, because it's in there. I know there's a lot of hurt and trauma. I've had it since this began. Memories that I had suppressed have come to the surface, and when that happens, it's coming to the surface because it's something that you need to heal. And so I obviously I'm on a healing journey, and I'm trying to heal them as they come. So every day I keep thinking, wow, there's that much trauma in there because it's so intense. But yeah, there is a lot of trauma in there. And if you're still experiencing the trauma, it's going to continue because you haven't released it, or you haven't raised your vibration high enough to be stable enough to not let those kind of things bother you anymore. But I'm working on it.
Well, I find it amazing because, as I guess the cliche of that old cigarette thing is, you've come a long way, babe. Because when we first started talking about this about 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, if we're talking ground zero, that first time we spoke about this, you really did not have a lot of control over this.
No.
But now you have an awareness that by allowing yourself about 60 to 90 minutes of an energetic trauma release per day, you're in a way able to control it, or kind of maintain your lifestyle and still have a productive day at work, but you just have to be able to release this.
Right. You don't want to start your day with all that energy pent up in there, because I've reached a certain plateau of my meditations, and my body is so used to it now. It expects me to be able to allow it to move through me as it needs to. So yeah, in the beginning I had no idea what I was doing, and I haven't mastered any of this by any means. Someone may suggest I need a teacher to release all those things, but I tried some Reiki stuff. It was online, and it did help me in the beginning. It helped because the energy that moves through you is so intense that it's almost unbearable. And I could see why a lot of people would think that it was something medically wrong. Maybe they had Parkinson's, or they had a seizure disorder, or they had something that was going on. But because I've done my research, I understand what's happening here.
And I think one of the points you just made is you kind of need a safe place. So what actually comes to my mind is, what happens if a person doesn't have a safe place? What happens if there's a person who's actually in a domestic violent situation, that their home is not their haven? They don't even have a little office they could sneak away to and maybe go to the bathroom for 2 to 5 minutes. That's possible. But what if they don't have certainly an hour or an hour and a half to hide away and be safe and figure this out.
Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that don't have that. As a matter of fact, I didn't have that until I started waking up early because I felt like, if my husband and myself got up at the same time, then I had no time to do my meditation. So I started getting up early while he's still in there snoring, just so I could get that time. But if someone's in a domestic violence, first of all, get out if you can,
Yeah.
escape, because it's really hard to grow spiritually if you're in a dark place. You have to be ready, and I believe that Kundalini Shakti knows when you're ready. And there's been times where I had, this is not something that just happened. I had been meditating for a few years before anything happened, and I wasn't ready. But trust me, they know. It knows when you're ready to be able to do that. But I would say go for a ride in the car, or just even if you could just do 3 minutes a day, in the bathroom, hide in the bathroom and take some deep breaths and try to connect with your higher self and ask for that healing that you need so very badly.
And I just the title of this channel I think is so apropos because you call it Soul Journey 424, and a lot of ways I think if you had a spiritual mentor to help guide, that would be great. However, I think fundamentally it's a level of trust. I still think to this day, besides you and I talking about this, there's nobody else you could fully disclose this to and have a 100 absolute percent trust in. And if you don't have that trust, how can you have them be your spiritual advisor?
That's so true, and then that's where I don't feel like I know everything yet, and I don't want to be vulnerable and have to be taken advantage of, and I certainly don't want to let in anything dark. My journey is about returning to the light, and I know that there is some dark entities out there, and there's some dark people out there. They might look fine on the outside, but I don't know where their heart is truly, and that's why it's very difficult to find someone that understands that you trust 100%, and that's why I haven't reached out to anybody. I reach my higher self. I reach for my higher self, and I trust that my higher self knows me better than I know myself, and knows what I need and when I need it, and that they'll supply what I need at that time.
So that actually leads me to my last question, sort of last conversation point is your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what you're going through, what you're experiencing, we've called it a Kundalini awakening, a spiritual awakening, an energetic awakening, energetic trauma release, and you've asked some questions, right? You actually jotted things down. You've asked some questions, but I believe you haven't been asking the right questions. and I wanted to share this because a part of the voices that you hear, and again, this is not, as despite the fact that it's probably going to sound crazy, you're not. But I think the first question you should ask is kind of a yes or no question, open-ended. You have to ask the right questions, and I think it should be, are you my higher self?
Yeah, I like that.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so I would also say to everybody watching that formulating the right questions is critical, but they can't be really open-ended dialogue type questions. It's if you're talking energy and dimensional, spiritual,
right?
I think in our world, in this game we called Earth, I think we're going to need to kind of simplify it for now, as we're really all on the entry point of this game. I think we really need to simplify the questions.
I think that's so true because, if I was, and I'm not there, but I don't know what my gifts are. So like I'll say, what are my gifts instead of saying, is my gift this? Like and then ask, expect a response. I was telling John I was getting these little twitches on my lower lip over here. Like if I asked a question or I did something, it was almost as if to say, yeah, that's right. Yes, you know. And but if I were a medium and I was hearing clearly answers to questions, then maybe I should ask those questions. But since I don't, and I'm just getting a little twitch for a yes or a no, um, I think maybe that's a good starting point. So I'm gonna take you up on that and try that.
And we'll take it. Also, I guess maybe the second question is, can I select my purpose? If it ends out that you're higher, if it is your higher self, and you can select your purpose, that'll go a long way of at least us having an awareness. It still, we have to figure out how to do that, but it certainly will answer a couple the big two questions, I think.
I think that's good. We have, from my understanding, we all have gifts. We're all channelers, and we can all do this, but we're so off track, and our we're not in sync with how do I say this without sounding esoteric? Um, we're all at different stages, and some of us are not awake enough to realize what's happening here. So I would, I'm going to suggest this for myself, and I suggest it for other people too, that they just take it slow. Don't get too over your head. You don't want this energy as it comes up. I believe it comes up gradually for a reason, because the purpose is to be able to hold that energy and keep that energy. You don't want to be down in a lower energy. As you go through this and you become more awake, your energy gets higher and higher and higher and higher, and you become at a different frequency. So then things don't bother you as much. You're more aware of things, and you understand that we're all here on this journey, and we're all just, some of us are a little farther along the path than others. Some of us are just starting. Some of us have been in it for years, but we're all here for a purpose, and we all have gifts, and we just have to find what they are. So that's my plan. I want to find out what gifts I have to give, and it may just be these little snippet videos of something that may help somebody to go down a rabbit hole of, to find their own way in this.
That I think that is giving us a perfect conclusion. Thank you so much, Michelle. And everybody, thank you for joining, and please hit the subscribe button.
And remember, it's in you.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right. Take care now.